How's everybody doing today? I had your attention to get things kicked off 7 minutes later than I wanted to. I want to respect the time of those of you here. People will be coming in. As people come in late, we're just going to heckle them. We're just going to look at them and go like this. Right? So let's get going. Now, just so you know, we're filming this today.
All right.
This is the first time I'm filming a class and I'm teaching, so I'm a little uncomfortable. So I'm just going to picture you all as naked, so I ease my fears with the camera. Can we edit that and delete that when we're done, by the way? All right. Well, good morning. Great to have you guys all here. Welcome to our new training space here. I hope you like it. We tried making it as comfortable as possible for the folks here. Just a couple of notes so you know. Right here is some of the key information, especially these two numbers right here are the codes to the men's room and the women's room. So if you go out either the door and make a right, they're both on the left-hand side. 52 for the men's room, 54 for the women's room. If you want access to the Wi-Fi, here's the Wi-Fi password. It is case sensitive, so make sure you capitalize the K, W, and the M. Questions, thoughts, concerns, excitement so far? We're going to be running pretty fast. You know, in essence, this is a full day class. When I'm down in Atlanta, it takes me 2 days to teach it. I want to apologize in advance to anyone from Atlanta that watches this video. And what we're trying to do is condense it into 4 hours. So we're going to move at a pretty good clip, but we're in New Jersey, so I know that everyone here does everything fast, so I think we're in good shape. So just so you know, it's called the 24 topics. We're only covering about 16 of them. 16. The main reason for that is I touched briefly on the budget model and the organizational model. I'm going to touch briefly on those two topics, but I'm really going to tell you what classes we offer to get more information on those two things. So, my name is Michael Brandt, for those of you that don't know me. I'm the Regional Director of the Keller Williams New York Tri-State Region, which means Southern Connecticut, the southern part of New York State, all the boroughs except for Manhattan and Northern New Jersey, all fall in our region. We have 32 offices and just under 4,000 agents in that region. I'm also the OP of the Market Center you're sitting in Morristown, and it's great to have you here as our guests. So, without further ado, let's get going. Any questions so far? All right. Today, we're talking about the MREA. What is the MREA?
Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, also called the Red Book. So, if you've registered, you will have a copy of this with a spiral binding. For those of you that weren't registered, we'll get you one if we have extra space, if some folks don't show up. So you will get a spiral bound book. You also should have gotten some tabs. Roxanne, can you hold your book up for a second? That's what it can look like as you tab it out. As we talk about each of these different topics, tab that page and highlight the things that are interesting on that page is a great way to use this as a guide down the road. So for instance, when we get to the economic model and you tab it out, in the future you can just go to your tab and say, oh, economic model, and jump right to that page. This is a guide. This is a guide for your business, and more than just a book. So it's a resource for you to use whenever you're trying to strategize growing or doing something different with your business. So this is definitely a helpful book. We're talking about the 24 topics, which could also be considered the golden pages of the book, the 24 most important things to know. I also call this the Cliff Notes version of the MREA. Whoever used Cliff Notes when they were in school? Come on, raise your hands. Michael, come on, raise your hand. Never, not once? So I call this the Cliff Notes version of this book. We're going to cover the 24 most important pieces that you need to know, as opposed to reading it cover to cover. Now, I myself would never have read Cliff Notes in school. Maybe once with The Great Gatsby. Once. It was after I saw the movie.
You forgot about.
Yeah, right? So let's get going. Give me an idea of where we stand in knowledge. You've also got this little workbook. You've also got a little workbook here with it. I'm going to go through some of these questions really fast. I just want to get a gauge on who knows what in the room on the MREA. So here's some of the key questions we ask about the book. Number one, what are the 4 stages of growth on the path to $1 million? Anyone know the 4 stages to growth? All right, number 2. Do you know? Yeah.
Make $1 million, grow $1 million,
Earn $1 million, net $1 million.
Think, earn,
Grow.
net,
Oh, net and
receive.
receive it.
Think, earn, net, receive. Nice though.
Very nice, right?
Impressive. How long have you been with the company?
Since June.
Since June. I like
Wow.
it. What are the 3 L's of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent? Say good.
Leads, listing, leverage.
Leads, listings, and leverage. So, okay, so far 2 for 2. I'm feeling pretty good about this room. Feeling pretty good. What are the 4 fundamental models of real estate sales success? 4 models.
Economic, organizational,
Lead
Budget.
generation.
lead generation.
That's it. Economic, lead gen, budget, and organizational model. And again, today, we're gonna be definitely talking about the mindset, thinking a million, and the lead generation model. So the economic model and the lead gen model, we're gonna touch on the budget and the organizational. What are the 3 key areas of the economic model? 3 key areas of the economic model. What are the 4 laws of lead generation? So far I'm seeing that we had a bunch of people that read the first 100 pages of the book. Nice, nice. We're gonna bite into the rest. Lead with blank, not blank.
Revenue.
Lead with revenue, not expenses, debt. There you go. What are the 3 key hires of a millionaire real estate agent? Michael, the first one? Admin. An executive assistant or an admin is the first key hire. Second,
Admin.
buyer leverage. Buyer leverage. We will talk briefly on different ways to get buyer leverage before you have to get to a buyer's agent. And the third one, if you have leverage on the buyer side, you also want leverage on the listing side. So sometimes listing leverage or listing specialist. What does RTCK stand for? RTCK. Recruit, train, consult, and keep. We'll talk about that. What is the 80-20 rule?
Spend 80% of your time on the
80%
top
fail, 20% succeed.
20%.
Is that part of it? Spend 80% of your time?
On the 20% of the most successful
Yep.
sources.
20% of your activities
20%
will
of
net
your
you 80% of your results. 20% of your activities will net you 80% of your results, also called the Pareto principle. What is the MREA energy plan? Number 11. So I'm not necessarily giving you all the answers because we're gonna get through the answers in the class and you'll be able to fill them in by the end of the class. We actually do these questions again at the end to see what you remember. So, number 11, think blank, aim blank, act blank, live blank.
Big, 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 big.
Big, aim high.
Let's start there. Let's start there. What you can notice on all these slides, they reference a page in the bottom right-hand corner. For this side of the room, I'm going to apologize in advance if this is in the way. So for instance, this will tell you what page of the MREA book we're in. So right now we're talking about page 23. So again, if you look at page 23, page 23 talks about the concept, think big, aim high, act bold, live large. Who here wants to build a big, successful real estate business? So the whole concept of this, you've got to start with big ideas. You got to start with thinking big. You know, so for instance, I want to get into the real estate business because I want to affect as many lives as possible and help people with the most important process they go through in their lives, as opposed to, I want to get in the real estate business because hopefully I might want to kind of sell a house. See the difference between those two things? This is called the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Okay, so the idea is to give you the tools, systems, and models to build a big real estate business. Now I'm going to just go back a step. Look at the word millionaire. I want you to consider that word as a placeholder in this book. All right? Everyone has a different definition of success. Everyone has a different definition of what millionaire is. So perhaps for you, millionaire is $50,000 a year by working 30 hours a week and bringing home that extra money for your family. Maybe it's $300,000 a year. Maybe it's $1 million a year. So everyone has a different goal of why you got into business. Everyone's got a different goal. It's called the big why. We're going to come to that in a few minutes. So everyone has a different reason. So I don't want you to be stressed about the word millionaire in this. Well, people will put this down and say, well, I can't do this because, you know, I don't need to make $1 million. So I don't want you to be, you know, stressed or throw this away because of that word. Think of that word as a placeholder for what it is that you deem as success. Does that make sense?
Yes.
When Gary published his book back in 2000, 2001, the publisher said, you need to put something in there that's catchy. Because trying to write a book that said the slightly above average real estate agent was not going to sell a whole lot of books. So they thought the millionaire real estate agent had much more appeal than the slightly averagely successful above average person. Sound good? So think of that as a placeholder, but you just have to think big, aim high, act bold, live large. In there, they tell the story about the 4-minute mile. Does anyone know about the 4-minute mile? Do you remember the name of the guy that broke that the first time?
Roger Bannister.
Roger Bannister. So back before he did it, people thought breaking the 4-minute mile was physiologically impossible. The human body couldn't run a 4-minute mile. It couldn't work. Roger said, okay, well, let's figure out a way to do this. If I just build a plan, I could do it. He was a professor. Every day at lunch, he came out and he started just running the track at the school. And what he built himself up to was being able to run a 1/4 mile in under a minute. Walk, run a 1/4 mile in under a minute. So he's trained for months to condition his body to get really good at a 1-minute 1/4 mile. Then one day, about 4 months into it, he finally and successfully broke the 4-minute mile in about 3 minutes and 59 seconds. What do you think happened next? The interesting point of this, what do you think happened next?
That record was broken.
Broken again.
In the next 60 days, it was broken by over 40 other people. Broke the 4-minute mile. As soon as he had let people understand that it was
Possible.
physiologically possible, everyone was able to do it because their limiting beliefs were removed from their head. Same thing with scaling the largest mountains in the world. You know, as soon as someone does something that everyone else thinks is impossible, it opens up the eyes to everybody else. #1 agent in Keller Williams Realty last year, how many homes do you think they sold? 100?
600.
600? Anyone else? 200?
1,200.
1,350 homes. The #1 agent in Keller Williams Realty last year. He has a team, of course. You can't do that by yourself. It is impossible to try to sell 1,350 homes. What's that? About 4 a day. It's really tough to do that yourself and still have a family that actually wants to talk to you. So he has a team that consists of admins, buyer leverage, listing leverage to help him build the business. That closed over 1,350 homes, over 5.6 million in GCI. His name is Mark Spain. He's out of Atlanta, Georgia. If you ever want to look him up, definitely a good personal role model. He's been in the business about 10 years. He's in his late 30s. I met Mark one day, and he was sharing with me some of the ideas that he used to do this, and there were 2 other guys hanging out with him. I apologize, I don't remember their names, and I looked at the next guy, so I'm just kind of watching Mark and doing what he does. I've only been in the business 5 years, 32 years old. I did about 400 transactions last year. I looked at the next guy, he goes, oh, I'm the newbie. I'm only 2.5 years in the business, late 20s. I only did 200 last year. I'm following these guys and trying to do what they teach. That was kind of an aha for me. Someone 2.5 years in the business selling over 200 homes. Sometimes it's hard for us to appreciate that because for those of us that have been in the business, this is my 20th year in the business. You know, we think about that house as what it sold for back in the late 80s and 90s. Oh, how could it possibly go for that price? I knew without a gas station next door. So we had these preconceived notions on what real estate is. But we don't have to. It's our choice if we want to think big, aim high, act bold, and large. What do you think of that concept? How are we feeling? How are we doing?
Great.
Am I doing the way you taught me? Am I good? We talk a lot about models and systems. All right, all of this is a model and a system. We have a model and a system on how to find and hire talent. It's called Recruit Select. We have a model and system of how you train that talent. A model and a system of how you lead and motivate that talent. We've got systems and models to help you build a business that closes 16 transactions a year. Anyone know what that class is called?
Ignite.
Ignite, thank you, Susan. Susan, Ignite. Ignite teaches you the basic systems and models to get to 16 closed transactions a year. We have another class that teaches you how to close 36 transactions a year. Anyone have an idea what that's called?
Bold.
Bold, without a doubt, Bold can teach you how to sell a lot of homes but the class specifically 36, 12-3. 36 transactions in 12 months by focusing 3 hours a day on the business. And BOLD, that board right there, teaches you how to live whatever life you want. The average person that takes BOLD makes 13 transactions in 7 weeks. BOLD starting up here in New Jersey, up in
23rd.
Tenafly, I believe,
23rd.
and Kenilworth.
23rd.
We're actually having 3 starting up that week, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. One's gonna be up in the Bergen County area, one in Hoboken, and one in Kenilworth, Kenilworth, Clark area. So we've got 3 starting up. What's the question? Rochelle Park. So BOLD will be starting up in 3 locations. Definitely go to the first session of that. It's free, and it'll give you an idea of what that class is all about. So we have all these different classes that are designed to teach us models. Get good at running your business that way. Once you figure that out, then you can get creative. Anyone know who Ben Kinney is?
Yes, yes.
Who wants to help me out?
Well, I know him, it's technology, he knows a lot about technology.
Ben Kinney wrote the book on building a real estate business through social media. If you go, for those of you that are Keller Williams agents, if you go to KWU, just download the book Social. It's a free download for you. So what he did was he built a stable business on strong models that we teach. Then he got creative with social media. He generates over 15,000 leads a year from Craigslist. Is that creative? I'd say so. His team last year did, Julie, what was it, about 900 to 1,000 transactions? Roughly 1,000 transactions his team did last year. Over $100 million sold. All because he built a system based on strong models and then got creative. So start with models. Who here is into team building, having a desire to build a team, or is a part of a team? I love people that want to build real estate teams. What's the first hire we should make while building a real estate team? Admin. Admin is always the first hire. What do people typically want to hire first? A buyer's agent. Oh, I can do it with a buyer's agent. Have them do some admin work for them to get really creative. Why do agents like to hire a buyer's agent first?
You think it'll be more business?
Because they're free. Because they're free. You only pay them if they help you sell a house. So for a lot of us, it's easy doing that because we don't have to write a check for that every week. Whereas with an admin, $35,000, $40,000, $45,000 a year, you've got to write that check. So again, I've helped a lot of people in the last 9 years. I've been with Keller Williams with team building. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I haven't met anyone yet that started with a buyer's agent and built a big successful real estate business. However, I can share with you a lot that hired a great admin and has a business that's growing and thriving right now. We'll talk more about that when we get to the organizational model. Who's ever heard the concept of E2P? E2P. E2P. We're all in the real estate business because we've got what kind of spirit? We're entrepreneurial. You know, well, why did we get into the real estate business? Give me some reasons why everyone here got into the real estate business.
Sky's the limit.
Freedom, sky's the limit, there's no ceiling to it, earn as much as you want to earn. Flexibility, be my own boss, right? I can work any 5 hours a week I want to work and make over $100,000 a year, right? Yeah. I've heard that. Anyone, by the way, if anyone has an opportunity that only works 5 hours a week to make over $100,000 a year, let me know. I will happily tell as many people as possible about that. I haven't seen it yet. Not without hard work anyway. So E2P means we're all entrepreneurial in spirit. We do what comes naturally to us. You know, we like helping people. We like going out and showing houses. My quick plug, and this is why I'm going to bring it up today, please do it safely.
Thank you.
Marjorie, where are you? Kudos to you. She had a buyer call her this morning asking her to meet her at her house, and she said, absolutely not, I need you to meet me in the office. I've never met you before, I don't know you from Adam, let's get together first. Take the time to make sure you protect yourself first and foremost. Moving on. So E2P is entrepreneurial, we do what comes naturally. That allows us to build the real estate business as big as we want to build it, right? If I ask this question, does something pop into your head? What's the best year you ever had in real estate? What's the best year you ever had in real estate? My guess is either a year popped into your head, a number of homes, or an income amount popped into your head, right? Everyone think in their head right now the best year they ever had in real estate? 2005. For those people that say yes, I can think of a year, was it last year?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Raise your hand if your best year in real estate was last year. High fives in the room to those people. That's awesome, congratulations. For those of you that it wasn't last year, that's your natural ceiling of achievement. You figured out naturally and entrepreneurially how to do that much business. And then for those of us that did it and haven't repeated it, it's because we didn't do anything different during that year to make sure we can repeat it. So we have this E to P, we're entrepreneurial. When we hit that ceiling, we have to get purposeful. We have to start doing things a certain way. Gary Keller said at Mega Camp 2 weeks ago, when you're doing everything you possibly can and you can't do anything more, it means you're just one good relationship away from breaking through that ceiling. So when you're doing as much as you can and can't do any more, that means you need to hire someone else in your business to help break through that ceiling. Does that make sense? You connecting on that? So at that ceiling, you put together systems, models, you hire someone. That's a purposeful way of doing business that allows you to break through that ceiling. What do you think is going to happen once you break through that ceiling? Well, you're going to hit another ceiling. And then you're going to do something different and break through that ceiling, and then you're going to hit another ceiling. How does someone get from one transaction a year to 1,350 transactions a year? My guess is Mark Spain broke through a lot of ceilings of achievement in that path. So E to P is entrepreneurial to purposeful. I also call it easy to painful. It's easy to do what comes naturally for us, right? Time blocking our calendar for the whole year and focusing 3 hours a day on lead generating for our business is not easy. It's a little bit painful to make that change. Is it easy to change our habits?
Yes.
No,
Is it?
no.
If you said yes, please help me understand how. Because I'm trying to get the elliptical thing going and working out regularly and have a hard as heck time doing it consistently. How long does it take for us to create a habit?
30 days.
21.
30 days, 20 days, 66 days. For those of you that said 66, raise your hand. Because that tells me who's read the one thing. The one thing tells us, Gary Keller, the one thing, it takes on average 66 days to create a habit. Some people can do it in 21 days. Some people can do it in 180 days. Working out on an elliptical for 45 minutes a day, I've been working on that for 2.5 years, so I'm definitely slow. I'm definitely slow when it comes to changing habits. So changing a habit isn't easy. That's why it takes time, it takes purpose, it takes training, and it takes coaching. The best way to break through a ceiling is by hiring a coach, because they can help hold you accountable to things you have to do to get uncomfortable to break through that ceiling. Make sense? The 3 L's. The 3 L's. Page 40 to 44. Gary Keller says the 3 L's are
Leads, listings, and leverage.
leads, listings, and leverage. We are in the lead generation business. When someone says, what business are you in? Don't say real estate. You're in the lead generation business. Because you could be an amazing realtor. You can be absolutely fantastic at selling real estate. You can build a relationship with a buyer like no one else, and you can close on a listing like it's your job. However, if you can't find the people to get in front of, your skills as a realtor don't really matter. So Gary Keller says we're in the lead generation business. It just so happens the leads we generate are real estate specific. It's funny, he tells a story often. He went to 4 years at Baylor University and got a degree in real estate. Right? Then he came out and went for his first interview, and the person says, great, you're hired. He goes, great, what's the salary? He's like, you're a realtor. There is no salary. So he did what every young college graduate would do. He came out, called his dad, and said, what the heck did you do to me? You let me get a degree in something I can't get a salary in. But what he found amazing about a 4-year degree in real estate, never once in 40 years did any professor ever talk about lead generation. Not once in 4 years of getting a real estate degree. You have to have lead generation. Whereas Gary knows, to succeed in real estate, we have to have leads. It's just that simple. Do people like realtors? No. Well, sure, Pismos and expires could be annoyed by us at times, right? But in general, lots of people like realtors. Who loves realtors?
My clients.
Your clients love, go you. I'm liking you, Tony. Who else loves realtors?
Mortgage professional.
Mortgage people love realtors. They love to buy us drinks and take us out to dinners and get coffee. Who else? Attorneys love realtors.
And Zillow.
Title companies love realtors. Zillow and Trulia adore realtors because we give them all of our money so they can give us leads back on our own business. Thank you. I'm not going to get on that horse today. I think Gary hit home on that 2 weeks ago. So realtors, attorneys, mortgage people, plumbers, home inspectors. Real estate is good for the economy. Do you think the government has gotten that in the last couple of years? Yeah. Interest rates are still really low because they know the real estate market needs to keep moving to drive the economy. I read an article a couple years back. How many jobs does selling one house create? 5. 30. 6. 12. 180 something. One home sale puts 300 people to work.
Wow.
Let's just think about that for a second. 300. Nick's nodding, but I know deep down inside you're out of your mind, Michael. I appreciate that. Thank you, Nick. So not only do we take care of the mortgage, title, insurance, but all the people in those back offices that get put to work also work. All the people in the real estate offices get to work. What does someone do when they buy a house? So they buy furniture. They go to Home Depot. They get paint. They get wood. They get sheetrock. So let's talk about paint for a second. They go to the store and they buy the paint from someone who tells them about it. They check out at the checkout counter. That's 2 people. Whoever made the paint in whatever factory anywhere in the world made it, put it into a can, put it on a truck, drove the truck, took it off the truck, and put it on the shelf. You with me? Now multiply that times paint, carpet, flooring, sheetrock, roofs. You with me?
Yes.
So next time you call a FSBO and they want to hang up on you, say, hey, Mr. FSBO, I'm just trying to help the economy. All right? Don't hang up on me. Don't hate me. I'm just trying to do my job as an American citizen in driving the economy forward. All right? Sound good? So again, to have success in this business, you have to generate leads. Are listings important? How many listings do you need to take in the next 12 months to accomplish your goals? 15? By show of hands, who knows their number? We've got 65 people in the room and I had 5 people raise their hands. Congratulations to the 5 that raised their hand. For the 60 that
All our
didn't.
regions should have raised their hand. I missed the hand raising. I was out there.
It's on video. You can check it later and call them out on it. And Julie will call you out in your next coaching appointment. I can promise you that. For those of you that don't know your number, you will by the time you leave here today. We're going to do what's called the regression analysis of the economic model. So that's going to be a painful part of this class. I'm going to go slow through it. So for those of you that have it, I apologize, but it's a great chance for you to do it again. For those of you that don't, you're going to do it. If we get nothing done but you knowing your number, how many appointments do you need a week to hit your goals next year? If you only get one thing out of today's class, I want you to know that number. So when we get to that part, we're going to take our time, we're going to go through that until I have confidence that everyone in this room has a number. So just because you're sitting in the back of the room or off to the side, don't think you can hide. Because I'm going to be looking at you 4 people first and foremost to make sure you get the job done. So again, the best way to accomplish your goals is know how many listings you need and take them how fast. How fast should you take the listings? So a lot of times we say, I need 24 listings in a year to hit my goal, so I need to take 2 a month, right? The quicker you take the listings you need, the quicker you're going to accomplish your goal. So I'm going to say, if you need to take 24 listings, try to do that by April. The quicker you do it, the quicker you accomplish your goal. How great would it be to take October, November, and December off?
4 more listings.
4 more listings and make more money, put more money in the bank, save for that vacation house, whatever the case might be. So you need listings. Let me ask you a question. If you went to Macy's right now, and all of the racks were empty, what would you think?
They're going out of business.
Oh my God, they must be struggling. They must be going out of business. There's nothing on the shelves. Listings is your inventory. If you have nothing on your shelves, then then that's a concern. You're not in business. People can't find you if you don't have listings to market. How many well-priced, well-marketed listings, how many buyers should one well-priced, well-marketed listing create for you? Two. For every well-priced, well-marketed listing you take, you should close 2 buyers from that. So look at your numbers last year. If you did 10 listings sold, you should have 20 buyers sold. And if you don't, it means you're leaving opportunities on the table. You're leaving opportunities on the table. Either that or listing is taking your lead and selling it to someone else who's paying more money for it. One or the other. Thanks for laughing, Tony. I appreciate that. For those of you who didn't laugh, you'll get it later. It'll be really funny. Really funny. The third L? Leverage. Thank you, Lou. I really appreciate that. Leverage. There's 3 types of leverage we have. It's either people, systems, and tools. Who here has leverage in their life?
All of it.
Give me an example of something that everyone here has as leverage.
Family.
Family? I'm going to tell your wife you called her leverage. Dude, who here's got a cell phone with voicemail? That's a paid receptionist to pick up the phone when you can't do it. Voicemail is an example of leverage. What are some other things we can do to add leverage to our lives very easy? Time block, to make sure you're focusing on the right things at the right time.
Set goals.
Set goals. That way you know what you need to do, your big rocks, right?
Delegate.
Delegate. You need to hire someone to delegate. Dude, so let's talk, if we're not hiring an assistant, what are some other ways we can get leverage in our life without bringing on a full-time employee? Suzanne?
Hire someone to clean your house.
Hire someone to clean your house. Yeah. Yeah, I remember me and my wife were talking about that about 2 years ago. We said, we need help around the house. Should we hire a nanny or someone to help with the kids? And she said, well, I don't want to delegate that part. But I sure like to not clean the toilets and floors anymore, right? Hire someone to clean your house.
I noticed using Dartloop really leveraged my business.
We've all got a great piece of leverage. It's called E-Edge. E-Edge, and I was a big top producer fan. E-Edge is a great way to give you leverage to attract customers, to communicate with the customers. E-Edge will send those emails, will send that marketing, will send those postcards without you even doing anything. Being able to send the contracts through Loop for signature saves a tremendous amount of time.
A lot.
Awesome. I'm loving you right now. Thank you for bringing that up. You just gave me the plug I needed.
It's the best thing here.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Yes.
Hire a company to put your signs in for you.
Hire a company to put your signs in. Who do you use? Do you have anyone on top of your head?
I use her, my partner, because
Hire a company.
That's our next leverage move.
LJS?
LJS.
No, but she uses LJS signs. They're local. It costs about $70, $80 to buy the post, and then $50 50 in and out. So LJS Signs is a great local company to give you some leverage there.
And they store them.
Lawn. Yeah, that's a piece of leverage for me. Almost 3 years ago, we moved into a new house. For the last 5 to 7 years, we had a house on a 60 by 100 lot. So I can go out with the push mower, and I'd have that lawn mowed in no time flat. Then we moved into this new house that's 3/4 of an acre. I got to the first weekend with a push mower. I started Saturday morning. By the end of the day, Sunday, I'm like, whew, done. 2 days, bang that thing out. So I did
Started growing again on the other side.
yeah, the front lawn needed to be done again by the time I was finished. So I did what any red-blooded American male would do, and I went to Home Depot. I get in front of the tractors, I get my belly hanging out. And this guy must have seen me coming. He saw me coming. He sold me this 19.5 horsepower, 48-inch mowing deck. I've got attachments to a cart, a plow, an aerator, a seeder, a triple bagger.
I only
let me tell you.
recognize 2 words from that whole sentence.
Well, you know what's funny? I don't use any of those things anymore. Because after doing that, so I realized I get the lawn done in about 45 minutes. I did that for a few months. I said, you know what? I don't like this. 45 minutes is still too much time to be spending. Some people like being out there manicuring. I used to have a neighbor that used to cut with scissors, for God's sakes. Here's the thing. If you're doing something, you should be doing it for one of 2 reasons. Either A, you just love doing it. I'm allergic to grass and I'm allergic to dust. There's nothing I enjoy about mowing the lawn. All right, so you either do it because you love doing it, or you do it because you have no one else to do it for you. So ask yourself that question. Are you doing something because you love it? Or are you doing something because you have no one else to do it for you? And if you love it, great, keep doing it. If I'm home on the weekend, that 45 minutes is time I can be spending playing with my kids.
That's right.
And yes, I do now have the most expensive kid toy in the neighborhood. Because the only time I use the tractor is when I put a sleeping bag in the trailer and take the kids around for tractor rides. That's what the extent of worth my tractor gets these days.
Give it to somebody who needs to
eBay.
start a business.
Yeah, yeah. Hand it out to someone who wants to build the business.
That's
And
right.
It could be an opportunity.
That's
It's
right.
kind of like, you ever hear that whole story, our garbage is someone else's treasure?
That's right.
The stuff we don't want to do is someone else's opportunity. Thank you for sharing that, it was a great way to look at it. So, leverage, we good? Did I give you some thoughts on leverage? I want you to think right now, spend the next minute. I want you to write down one thing that you're doing right now in your life that you would like to leverage someone else to do it. It could be anything. I want you to think of one thing that you can get leverage in your life with. Winter's coming. Winter's coming, and what comes with winter?
Shoveling.
Snow. So I don't know about you guys, if you love shoveling snow, go for it. If not, you might want to find someone for that. We had a bunch of agents last year, actually did a pretty neat thing, I think you were involved in it too, Judy. By that last snowstorm, we started calling local snowplow companies and asked them if they need business. Then we were calling our databases and said, hey, are you as sick of the snow as I am? Here is Jim Smith, and here's his number. And he's available to plow your driveway if you want.
At our discounted rate.
At a discounted rate. We negotiated a lower rate because he was looking for more business. So again, there's lots of different things we can do to find leverage. Anyone write anything down that they want to share? Luke?
Internet marketing. I don't want to, I can do it, but I don't want to spend the time going online and adding things and pushing things out on the internet.
It's not the highest and best use of your time, right?
No,
What's the highest and best use of your time?
lead generation.
This is a contact sport. You need to be mouth to ear, belly to belly, face to face with someone in order to earn a commission. So find those other areas that you can get some leverage. What's another idea that someone have to leverage? Tom?
Graphic design.
Graphic design. Yeah. I love making the business cards look pretty, the signs look perfect, but flyers are great, especially when someone else does them for you. What else? Suzanne?
Database management.
Database management.
Just come in after the open house and drop the names, addresses, and emails, let somebody else put them in.
Go and Google virtual assistant real estate. You can get a great virtual assistant for about $8,700 a year that specialize in database management, cleaning a database, scrubbing a database, helping you put systems in place to market to a database. So hire someone to do that for you. Julie?
Two other things, there's websites that you can, for graphic design, actually source out your projects. Or also, there's a ton of colleges around us that are always looking for internships. So if you can go, if you want branding or you have graphic design projects where you can actually hire them to do an internship for free or little money, all you have to do is give them a great recommendation. And these are ways to, again, they're not gonna be your admin for life, but source out a few projects if you're not ready for this huge salary, position.
Remember 2 years ago, I saw a statistic, 54% of all college graduates were graduating with no job opportunity. So there's lots of people out there that will work for free or little just to get some resume building opportunities. So don't discount your local colleges. All right, awesome, thank you. So we talked briefly, so 3 L's, we good? Everyone wrote down something that they can use to leverage in their life?
Yes.
We talked about the 4 stages of growth, and thank you for bringing that up before. Think $1 million, earn $1 million, net $1 million, receive $1 million. So the first thing you do is think big. What does $1 million look like? What activities do I have to do in order to generate $1 million? Then can I earn $1 million? Can I do the activities in such a fashion that I can generate $1 million in gross income? Once I learn to do that, how do I then net it? Here's a quick number for you. You need to generate roughly $2.4 million in real estate revenue and gross commission income in order to net $1 million. And you generate 2.4 to net $1 million, which means how much are you spending on your business in that case? 2.4 minus 1 equals?
1.4?
Thank you, Andy, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here, thank you.
Taxes are included.
So no, that's before taxes, but 2.4 million, 1.4 million you're gonna spend on administrative help, buyer help, listing specialist help, supplies, phones, automobile expense, office expense. So you're roughly gonna have $1.4 million at that level, 1.4 million in expenses to generate $1 million, because you can't do it alone. You need to employ other people to generate $2.4 million. We'll talk more about that when we get to that section. And then receive. Who here would love to receive $1 million a year without having to work anymore? Guys, why is every hand in the room not up? I'm in the wrong, I'm leaving. I'm gonna come back in a minute and ask that question. Who would like to receive $1 million a year without working? Thank you, Tony, for being here. So here's what it comes down to. To me, that's the definition of retirement. The definition of retirement is not having to work. Not having to work. I mean, for those of you that know me, I'm a little bit addicted to work, so I'm probably gonna work until the last dying breath, for God's sakes. But I wanna work because I love doing it, or I wanna do it, not because I have to do it. How many people do you know in the real estate business right now that are well past working age and retirement age, but they're still doing it?
Work more.
I'm gonna shut that door so he doesn't hear you say that. No. Andy just mentioned the name of the guy that works right there. Again, this guy, Daryl Davis, if you've ever seen Daryl Davis teach a class, he's awesome. He's from Long Island, he teaches a lot of classes in this area. I actually saw him 8 years ago in Massachusetts. And he had shared this stat: 75% of all realtors retire with nothing in the bank and no retirement plan. So again, ignore the word million for a second. Build a business that allows you to get compensation that doesn't rely on you working every day, so you don't have to work. We have this cool thing called profit share in our world. Who here receives profit share? Not bad, not bad. I know our office is sharing about $26,000 today.
Yes.
Is what our profit share is going to be. Our region so far this year has shared right around $4 million in profit share. $4 million in profit share so far this year. As a company, we've shared about 75 million, 78 million in profit share so far. So that's just one way to receive a check that doesn't rely on you working every day. Who's ever heard the term myth understandings? Those of you that have taken courses with us, we talk about these things a lot. In every category we have myth understandings. There are misunderstandings rooted in myth. Can someone do me a favor and read the myth?
Having a goal and not fully realizing it is a negative thing.
Having a goal and not fully realizing it is a negative thing. We disagree with that. Having a goal and not trying to achieve it is a negative thing. Having a goal and not trying to achieve it is a negative thing. Actually, don't turn to page 61 yet. Don't turn to page 61 yet. I'm going to read something for you. For those of you that know this, don't blurt it out, okay? 1832, failed in business, bankruptcy. 1832, defeated for legislature. 1834, failed in business, bankruptcy. 1835, fiance died. 1836, nervous breakdown. 1838, defeated in election. 1843, defeated for U.S. Congress. 1848, defeated for U.S. Congress. 1855, defeated for U.S. Senate. 1856, defeated for Vice President. 1858, defeated for U.S. Senate. Who would have given up a long time ago? I would have given up somewhere between fiancé dying and nervous breakdown. Alright? And if this person gave up in 1858, he would have been considered a colossal failure, but he didn't. And what happened in 1860, for those who know what I'm talking about?
Became president.
He became president. Who are we talking about?
Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. What would our country look like if Abraham Lincoln was not elected president of the United States and passed one of the most important bills in the history of our world? So again, when you look at this, you know, he could have been considered a failure lots and lots of times. What are some other examples of people that could be considered failures?
Thomas Edison,
Thomas Edison. How many times did he fail in trying to create the light bulb?
10,000.
A lot. A lot. He had to be a little
You learned
OCD.
9,999 ways how not to make money.
Yeah. Who else? Suzanne?
His favorite, one of his famous quotes was, "If I had known it couldn't be done, I wouldn't have done it."
But he didn't give up, he kept trying. What's some other examples?
Sylvester Stallone.
Donald Trump,
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, he holds a record for most missed shots in the NBA. He was cut from his high school basketball team. How about that one?
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone. I'm still wondering how he succeeded to be quite honest. You actually watched him act.
Pure tenacity.
Yeah, pure tenacity.
Show up with his stuff.
Well, he
Wouldn't go
sell
away.
that
They're
movie
like,
even though he
okay.
wanted to- there were people willing to buy the movies.
You wanted to
He
star in it.
refused to sell it unless.
He could star in it.
Unless he could star in it.
And when Rocky was made an official stamp for the U.S. Postal Service, was the first time a live person was ever put in a stamp.
Wow,
How about that one?
interesting.
Walt Disney was told he had no creativity and can't draw his way out of a paper bag. He did okay.
Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers. Fred Astaire. Anyone ever hear of a guy named Theodore Geisel?
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss. I told you people know who Theodore Geisel is. Dr. Seuss was rejected by over 40 publishers. They said, no one's going to read a story about a cat in a hat. I read 4 Dr. Seuss books this week. So again, you've got lots and lots of examples of these people in this world. The most winningest coaches in NCAA, NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA also have the most losses to the name. Here's the thing I'm going to tell you to wrap up this section. If you don't fail, you're not trying. So who here is within the first year of the real estate business? First year of the real estate business? You're going to fail a lot. All right? And I'm going to be real with you for a second. The cool thing about our business is the low points are very low and the high points last a long time. So if you're not failing, if you're not getting the phone hung up on you a few times, if you don't have at least one buyer that says, I bought a home at an open house yesterday, I just want to let you know, you're probably not working with enough people. So again,
Exactly.
failure is part of the game. If you're not failing, you're really not trying. John Maxwell talks over and over again how we fail our way to success. Every time we fail, we learn something, which allows us to get better. Cool? How are we doing, okay?
Great.
You're still here, bud. So again, when we talk about the word try, it's the real you. The real you comes out when you try. You only fail when you give up. You only fail when you give up. So again, we're talking about the concept of thinking a million. Here are 9 different ways that we use to power our mindset. We're on page 71 for those of you that can see it. Think powered by a big why. Think big goals and think big models. No one that ever succeeded big thought small. It's funny, Gary Keller tells a story. As soon as he opened up the first office, 1983, they had about 35 people working in Austin, Texas, in the first Keller Williams office. From the first day, how do you think he answered the telephone?
Keller Williams International.
Thank you for calling Keller Williams Realty International. How may we help you? One office, 40 agents in one town, and he was answering the phone, thank you for calling Keller Williams Realty International. Today we've got 109,000 agents straddled over roughly 18 countries and growing every year. Again, he thought that way back 32 years ago. So again, think big models. The only part of this I really want to talk about for a second is this. Who's ever heard of the concept of big why? On page, what page am I on? 70-something, right around 71, 72.
77.
You've got this graph. I want to spend 2 or 3 minutes having you really write down a big why. What's your purpose? What's your purpose for working in the real estate business? Why do you get up and do it every day?
Which is also your leverage
Mm-hmm.
to your why, which is why I said my family before, by the way, not say, because that's your why.
When you get that phone hung up on you, when that buyer calls you on Monday morning saying they bought a FISBO over the weekend, how do you recenter yourself and get yourself back out there to do it again?
Your why.
Your why.
Big why.
That's your why. So I want you to look at this 2 ways. What are the economic things that are important to you of why you do what you do? And what are the personal things that power you to do what you do? So I want you to get really, really focused on why you do this. I have 2 amazing parents that got married in high school. My mother was a senior, my father was a junior when my parents got married. So you might think, wow, they knew they loved each other then, that's amazing, right? Well, my sister was born in September of my father's senior year of high school. So I'm not gonna pretend it was a planned marriage, all right? But the neat thing about this, my parents had 4 kids by the time they were 23. They worked hard, not really the smartest people in the world. Sorry if they're watching this, love you guys. But here's the, awkward. But here's the difference, they just celebrated their 41st anniversary.
Wow, that's amazing.
All right, and the reason I share this story is my parents worked hard over the years. They didn't have a lot. You know, thank God for real estate. Real estate is what allowed my mother to put 4 kids through private colleges, when my parents barely graduated high school, let alone college. So I remember times growing up where we had campouts in the living room. And to this day, I love camping. It wasn't until years later, the reason we had campouts, and I was actually talking about this over the weekend with my dad, is the heat was turned off.
Right.
And we had the wood stove in the living room, and so we put blankets up, we'd all camp in the living room to stay warm. The reason I share that with you is, as fun as that was and as much as that created who I am, I don't want my kids to feel that. I want to give my kids every opportunity in the world and have them not see some of those struggles. It's important for them to see some, just not too many. So that's a lot of what powers me to do what I do every day. So again, I want to ask you a question, what powers you to do what you do? Spend a minute and jot down some things. Reasons you do this, just make a list. What are some of the reasons you get up and sell real estate? If you had an amazing year in real estate, how would you invest that money? What would you do with it? What does earning a great income and having a successful real estate career do for you and the people around you? Anybody want to share what you wrote down? You don't have to, because I asked Kathy.
To not be one of those 75% who retire broke and to be able to put money away and.
Have options, right?
And, yeah, and my daughter's future as well.
Work because you want to, not because you have to. Awesome, thank you for sharing that, guys. Awesome.
So, unlike your parents, I had my first child at 39 years old. And so for me, it's paying for college while growing a retirement account while still having amazing life experiences with my family.
Awesome. Because those experiences are those memories, right? The things you
Totally,
create.
right, I don't wanna have to give up one for the other.
Do them both well.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
To achieve financial freedom, which means do what I want, when I want, with whoever I want, for as long as I want.
Mike,
That's a good one.
That's Crystal, right?
That down.
It's so funny. Somebody just told me that yesterday. That is so funny.
So financial freedom is one thing, defining it is something else. That's awesome. Thank you, Tony, for sharing that. Yes.
My big why is that I was very tight when I sent my children to college. I want to help pay all their debt. When they're happy, I'm happy. And that's, I think, my biggest why.
Yes. To provide.
Provide for them.
Provide, help them succeed. Awesome, thank you. I met Mark Willis a few years ago when I took the regional opportunity, and he asked me a pretty interesting question. He said, where do you see yourself 15 years from now? House paid off, money in the bank. Great. How much is your house worth? What other real estate assets do you have? How much money do you have in the bank? What do you have in stocks? What do you have in bonds? And that time I had 2 kids. He goes, where are your kids going to school? Is school paid for? And then he said something really, really cool. He goes, I want you to be really, really clear on what your long-term goals are, because if I know what your long-term goals are, then I can help you succeed and accomplish those goals. And if I can help you succeed and accomplish those goals, then you're never going to want to be in business with anybody else. And that to me is the cool thing about our world. We earn the right every day to be in relationship and in business with you. The only way we earn that is by helping you accomplish what you want to accomplish. And that's really cool from where I came from, which was a different company, where it's what have you done for us this month? What have you done for us this quarter? It's more about how can we earn, how can we help you. So be really, really clear on what you want to accomplish in your long-term goals and share it with the people you're in business with so we can help you succeed. Questions about the big why? Thoughts, excitements, ahas in the big why? has a value proposition? Who knows what a value proposition is? Suzanne?
It's, your personal value that sets you apart from other people.
How many licensed realtors are there in the state of New Jersey? Sorry, how many licensed real estate salespeople are there in the state of New Jersey?
Too many.
10,000? 20, 30,000?
52,000.
52,000? Before continuing ed was enacted, the last count I saw was 104,000 licensed real estate salespeople in the state of New Jersey. There's 104,000 licenses hanging at the New Jersey Real Estate Commission. This was before continuing ed. I have not seen a new number since they enacted continuing ed. I'm hoping that number dropped dramatically. So, yeah, people are coming back into the business. So what separates you from the 104,000 other licensed real estate salespeople in the state of New Jersey? If you were in New York City and you got into an elevator and there's this guy in the elevator with really bad hair, who am I talking about?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Again, Donald, if you ever watch this video, I apologize in advance. I don't think you'll watch it, but just in case, I want to make sure I put the disclaimer out there. So if you got into an elevator with Donald Trump and he's talking to his advisor and says, hey, we just lost that real estate person. We need to find someone else to handle all of our real estate inventory and assets. Who should we hire? Can you step up and in 30 seconds or less deliver him a stellar value proposition that would make him want to hire you? That's the power of a value proposition. That's the power of value proposition. We have a great course. It's session 1 of 36-12-3. It's called Validity and Positioning. Validity and Positioning. It's about a 2-hour course that will walk you through creating a value proposition. So I would tell you, go back to your office and ask your team leader to put it on the calendar. For those in my office, tell Julie that someone else said it. So go back and ask your team leader to put that on your calendar. And even if it's not on your calendar, download the book. It's a free download. It's a workbook. You can work through it and create your own value proposition. It's session 1 of 36-12-3. It's called Validity and Positioning. Validity and Positioning. Page 95 shares the top 10 service areas of a seller value proposition and the top 10 service areas of a buyer value proposition. Turn that page real quick and take a look at the value propositions. So these are the top 10 things, page 95, the top 10 things that buyers say they want and that sellers say they want. In today's market, what do you think is really the top of the list here? What do you think are the most important things to, this book was written back in 2000, 2001. Pricing strategy. Pricing strategy. Guys, don't overpromise. Anyone realize the market's getting a little funky out there right now?
It is.
It's getting a little weird, right?
Yeah.
You know, things are starting to stall a little bit, they're starting to get a little bit stale, things are starting to hang out.
Yeah.
Well, why do we think that's happening?
Pricing.
Pricing. If you look at the GSM the last quarter, active prices on active inventory is up by 7%. Prices on solds is flat, and prices on under contracts is down by 2%. So what's happening is the sellers are getting too aggressive in the pricing, and it's scaring the buyers away. You know, because again, we still have short-term memories. We still remember what that last correction was like. No one wants to overpay. So because we're getting a little bit aggressive on pricing, we're kind of putting ourselves in a position where things are sitting a little bit longer. So make sure we have an honest conversation with our sellers on really the true price today.
It may be the realtors that are getting too aggressive on pricing.
Oh, why would they get
but
aggressive? I've never met an aggressive realtor. Have you ever met a realtor that likes to buy a listing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who here's ever come across a seller that said, whoa, so-and-so said I could get this price for my house.
They could get
Oh, they could get me that price.
Yeah, get his permission.
Yeah, and at 4%.
they can bring the buyer anyway, you can do this with me.
So what are some of the things we could say to that seller when they say, well, so-and-so said I can get this price? Here's my verbiage. This comes from Tony the seller. Hey, Mr. Seller, if so-and-so says they can get you that price, well then list with them. Because I can't get you that price. I'm being very honest. I'd much rather disappoint you now than upset you later. So I'd rather give you a very honest, now keep in mind, my days on market is 32 days, my sell price to list price ratio is 98%. What's theirs? Right? But if you still decide you want to list with that agent, then I would encourage you to write this statement right into the listing agreement. Mr. Seller, do you have a pen handy? Write this down, because you wanna make sure you ask the other realtor to write this in there. If at any time my agent asks me for a price reduction or a price improvement, some of them think that that's another way to talk about price reduction. If my agent asks me for a price reduction or a price improvement at any time, I have permission to cancel my listing on the spot, because my agent is a liar. Aggressive?
Yes.
Awkward?
Yeah.
Awkward? And once again,
Last sentence.
as I share these ideas, they're things to have in your quiver. They won't work all the time, but they also do work. So what we do there is we're kind of planting what we call a subliminal message in the seller's mind. As soon as they list without other agent, and then what happens in 3 weeks? The agent's manager tells them to come in and get a price reduction because it's been 3 weeks. As soon as that person says price reduction to the seller, what's going to pop in the seller's head?
Liar.
Person's a liar. Michael Brand at Keller Williams, he was right. The person's a liar. And that person just lost all validity with that seller. You know, Mr. Seller, a lot of people will offer you a price that they can't necessarily get because they want to buy your listing. There's a saying out there that other brokerages use. You can't have a price reduction on another broker's listing.
Right.
So they take a listing, whatever the price, knowing that they're going to beat you up later. I'd much rather be honest with you now, so you know what you can expect, so you can plan accordingly. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Is that uncomfortable?
Awesome.
No,
Yeah.
that's
Awesome.
great.
It's great.
Great.
I know, I'm business.
You know, there's lots of people that do that. So again, you just want to say things. That's funny. If you're not getting a listing anyway, you're creating that message in their head. They're going to be thinking about you every time that person says price reduction. They're going to think Michael Brand. Price reduction, Michael Brand. When you call FSBOs, here's a great script I like to use with FSBOs. When you call FSBOs, say, Mr. FSBO, I'm sure you're being driven crazy by all the realtors calling you. Mr. For Sale by Owner, can I give you one script that will make them not call you anymore? When they call you, say, hey, when I'm ready to list, I'm listing with Michael Brand with Keller Williams Realty. We did a contest a number of years back, and I used that script, and we came together after a week of doing a lot of FSBO calling, and this one guy, Anthony Gerentano, said, I'm getting real frustrated, I gotta admit. And the person moderating the group said, why? I said, because every time I call it for sale by owner, they say they're gonna list with Michael Brand. So, after they say my name over and over and over again, who do you think is the first person they're gonna think of when they think
Michael
real estate?
Brand.
Top of mind, right.
And that's our job as realtors, is to create some brand recognition in the minds and hearts of buyers and sellers. What brand do you think matters to the consumer?
Michael.
Michael Brand, thank you. I didn't make this stuff up. I was born for this. But no. 96% of sellers, 97% of buyers say when they choose a realtor, it's about the realtor, they worked with them in the past, they were referred to them by a friend or family member. This is an NAR statistic. Not gonna lose. Only 3% of buyers and 4% of sellers say they chose their realtor because of the broker's name or the office location. The consumers don't care. Again, if you disagree with that, go call the NAR. It's their statistic. That's been creeping up every single year for the last 10. We knew it 35 years ago. That's why we created a company that said the most important aspect of our company is the agent. Your brand and building your brand and positioning yourself in the minds of everyone you know is important. We're going to talk about it more when we get to lead generation. When we get to lead generation, we'll talk about how you need to make your world really small and just make sure you're the biggest realtor in it. Value proposition, I would challenge you to put together a stellar value proposition that allows you to communicate to buyers and sellers what your value is. Who knows this statement? Now just to take a step back, we're just checking the time. We're trying to cram a full day class into 4 hours, so we're going to run right till noon, just to give you an idea of timing here. So if you do need to get up and use facilities, feel free. I don't get insulted. I can't sit still for more than 10 minutes. For those of you that know, Roxanne's smiling and shaking her head. So yeah, he can't sit still at all. So if you need to get up, feel free to do that. At 12, we're going to take a break for lunch. We're going to take about 30 to 40 minutes, and then come right back to it. We've got lunch coming in, so we're going to make sure we feed you today. So the 80-20 principle says what? 20% of our activities create 80% of our results. 20% of our activities creates 80% of our results. Let's look at this for a second. What do we do in a day? You wake up. You wake up. What are you doing today?
Get ready.
Throw out some things. Getting ready. Give me some more.
Take a shower.
Take a shower. Thank God, please, take a shower. Shower and prepare, right? Gym. What else?
Cool.
Eat.
Make breakfast and lunch for my son.
Email. Feed family.
Send kids to school.
And pets. Feed family and pets. Make sure we take care of those little guys on the top.
Social media.
Make cool.
Make calls. Thank you. Hopefully make calls to prospective buyers and sellers. I love going to Bold and watch people calling their family in the middle of Bold just to reconnect. I'm like, you're cheating. You're cheating. Unless you're asking your family for a real estate lead, hang up the phone and call somebody else. So make calls. What else?
Read meditation. Yes.
Read, meditate. What else?
Social media.
Social media. That is such an oxymoron, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest. Nick, you're a great social media guy. You're a great social media guy. Social media is kind of taking away the social.
It's connected us and it tears us apart.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And for those of us that have young kids, trying to keep them away from those handheld devices is crazy. Because go outside and play, for God's sakes. Oh, it's too hot or it's too cold. My daughter's got literally 2 months of the year she feels good going outside. Otherwise it's too hot or too cold. So we just gotta find those windows. What else do we do in a day?
Sit in traffic.
Traffic. Yeah, that's fun. Cross Bronx Expressway. What else?
Look at the hot sheets, check.
Preview homes. What's that, Lou?
Look at the hot sheets, check what's going on in the market.
We just call that research.
Yeah.
What else?
Go on an appointment.
Thank you. In a perfect world, we're gonna meet with somebody that hopefully wants to buy and sell real estate. What else? Lead generator. So we have calls. Let's actually specifically spell out lead generator because there's lots of different ways to lead generate. Right? There's short-term business and long-term business. What's the best way to build your long-term real estate business? One word. Starts with a D. Your database. Your database. Your database will always take care of your long-term real estate business, building your brand among people that know you, love you, and respect you. 76% of all people that buy or sell real estate exist in someone's database. Quick question. Anyone have any idea what percentage of realtors actively use a database? According to the NAR, 10%. They called 10,000 buyers and said, did you hear from your realtor after the sale? 90% of them say no. Which means only 10% of realtors actually using a database.
I'd gone to one of our seminars a couple weeks ago, and he had a great idea, and I never really thought about it. He's put, if you have the seller side, and you get the buyer's information, he puts the buyers in your database, because he goes, 9 times out of 10, they're never gonna hear from their agent again. So now you are keeping in contact with your client and theirs.
Do you know what that term is called?
Orphans.
It's called adopting orphans.
That's
Right?
it.
Adopting orphans when you bring the other person's client into your database. Right?
I mean, going off of what she said, recently I rented an apartment to some people relocating from Wisconsin. I wasn't their agent, I listed the apartment. And I bumped into him, I had never met them, I just saw their pictures when they submitted their lease. And I bumped into him at a restaurant in town about a week later, I just recognized him. And I went and introduced myself. Long story short, he emailed me the next day saying that when they're gonna buy a house in the next year, I'm the one they're gonna buy.
Awesome.
And they didn't even use me to rent the place.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
So adopt orphans. Again, for those Brand X agents that are watching it, we wouldn't do it to your buyers, we promise you that. Yes, adopt orphans. So without a doubt, assume the other agent probably won't follow up. So lead generate. Anything else we do in a day that we want to add to this list? Sleep. Sleeping is important. Sleeping is important. So we've got 80-20, right? So 20% of our activities nets us 80% of our results. 80% of our activities net us 20% of our results, which means only 1 out of 5 things you do in a day actually matters to your bottom line, to your business. Make sense? So showering, 80 or 20?
80.
I'm gonna debunk this whole myth. I'm gonna say it's a 20% thing.
if you work at home,
Here's one of those things. If you don't shower, the odds are good people don't want to hang out with you. And anything that talks about you, anything that gets to taking care of yourself, feeding yourself, sleeping, gym, meditating, anything that's about you is always part of your 20%. So here's the thing, guys, remember, we have to take care of ourselves first. You're no good to anybody else in your world if you don't take care of yourself first. So you gotta take care of yourself first so you can do everything else. When we talk about the 3 L's, oftentimes we talk about the 4th L. Anyone know what the 4th L is? Leads, listings, leverage, and love. Leads, listings, leverage, and love. There is a 4th L today. I know it's a little corny. Everyone's like, oh, he just got so corny with this. As realtors, at times, we work so hard servicing our clients that we forget about our families. We forget about ourselves and our families, and we end up not having very good lives there. So you've got to make sure you budget time for that in your 20% to make sure you take care of that. Make sense?
Yes.
All right, I'll get off my cheesiness. For those that don't know, it's my wife Amy. I said that specifically. So anything that's about you, always put in 20%. Jim, eat, I'm gonna put in 20%. 80, email 80 or 20.
80.
You don't need to do email. That is something you can delegate. That is something you can delegate. So my assistant goes through my email multiple times a day. She responds to the things she knows she can respond to, and she stars the things that I need to address. So you can delegate the lion's share of your email. We get roughly 300 to 400 emails a day as consumers. A lot of them end up in junk mail and trash, thank God, but you get a lot. So find a system to deal with that. Feed family. I'll get stuff for that in 20. Make calls.
20.
Again,
What type
as
of,
long as it's lead, I'm gonna use lead generation. Lead generating calls, I'm gonna say yes. All right, lead generation calls, yes. Calling the attorney, following up with the mortgage person, making sure the inspection is scheduled. Is that 80 or 20?
80.
That's 80. That's 80. All the stuff that you deal with throughout the transaction, you can hire someone amazing to do that for you. You can hire someone to do that better than you can. And people love dealing with my assistant because she's better at all that stuff than me. Anyone who ever's dealt with Brittany is like, oh my gosh, she actually responded to me. It's right there, it's a leg up. So read and meditate, again, 20%. Social media, 80 or 20.
80.
Nick Baldwin, would you call that 80 or 20? So you're on Facebook right now, aren't you?
No, I'm trying to connect to the Wi-Fi, but the password's not working.
Also use the there's also a public version of
Yeah, I
Wi-Fi.
was doing that too. I don't know
And here's the public Wi-Fi, 973-539-1120 is a password for the public Wi-Fi. So social media really isn't a 20% thing, guys. Unless you're doing it at a really high level. Do you consider social media 80 or 20?
I mean, for us, it's important, but we don't do it ourselves primarily on our Facebook page. We have a company that does it for us. They post at least once a day to keep it constant. And we get some interaction and leads and stuff. So, I mean, if you hire an outside source to do it, it could be effective.
I'm glad you mentioned that. The 80% stuff is all stuff you can have leverage for. If you can hire it out, it's an 80% thing.
I highly recommend Back at You Media, just saying.
Back at You Media.
Back at You Media, they're only for real estate. They had a big thing at at Mega.
Yeah, I just got a phone call from him yesterday.
Yeah, I've
actually.
been
He called
using
me.
them for almost a year. I really like them for my business page, so.
Back at You Media, they're out of
But they're only a
California.
supplement, they're not 24/7, but they do post to your page, but you still have to supplement it with stuff. But it's good.
Sitting in traffic, that's an 80% thing. Who here deals with traffic on a daily basis? Have a list of people to call.
Yeah.
Sitting in the car is a great time to do follow-up. Remember when I was team leader in Bernardsville, Roxanne, remember? I was commuting an hour and a half each way every day. There were agents that said, can I talk to you between 6:30 and 8? And they called me at 6:30 in the morning. Jay McNeil was always great at that. Because she knew she can get me uninterrupted during that drive time. So if you're spending a lot of time in a car, use that time to follow up, to lead generate. I know you should be distracted drivers, but you gotta use your time however you possibly can. I spent 3 hours in traffic yesterday. So use it. Previewing homes. When it comes to previewing homes in research, you need to do some degree of it. You need to do some degree because you gotta know your product.
Yes.
But you can't do it obnoxiously. How much time should you spend a week researching or previewing homes? 4 hours. 2 hours. You should spend no more than about 20 minutes a day checking the hot sheets.
But then at the same time, depending on where you are in your career,
Yeah.
if you're a brand new agent, you should spend a lot of time
Yeah.
getting to know your.
My first broker said, go preview 100 homes before you pick up the telephone. Because what's the number one question you're gonna get when you're showing buyers something?
Have you seen it?
Have you seen this home, or is this house worth this price? What do you think this house is worth? If you don't know the inventory in the market, you really can't answer that question. So your great point, say, Q, depending on where you are in your life cycle of the business, depends on how much time you have to spend on this. But let's be honest, we all know realtors that spend hours and hours a day scrubbing the hot sheets and doing research. That by itself is not gonna earn you commission. Going on appointments. Right now, for most people in this room, going on appointments is part of your 20%. Once you get to a 5th, 6th, 7th level, we'll talk about that later, that is something you can leverage. And then sleeping. 20%.
You can outsource.
Yeah, you can try to delegate that, but it's really not gonna help you.
You gotta sleep for a month after.
What's that?
You can outsource it by just crashing out.
Someone else.
I've done it in the Marine Corps. I've stayed up for months on end, and you just crash for one whole month.
You hired me?
I was a drill instructor. I was awake.
Wow.
Please
3 months at a
recognize
time.
that the comments of that person is not necessarily that of the person teaching the class. Thank you. I would definitely suggest us not to go months without sleeping, unless you're trained to do that. So the 20% of the MREA is lead generating, listings, and then managing people, and managing systems to make sure they're working. So at the end of the day, it's lead generate, listings, and the systems are the most important things for your business. Do you know your numbers? We talked about this briefly before. Do you know your numbers? What is your goal? What is your goal this year? Nick?
Well, I just recently got a coach, and I just started coaching, but I know, because there's only 60 days left, really.
Who's your coach?
Her name's Monica McQueen.
Awesome.
She's in Utah so far, she's great, like, only had 2 calls so far, but I already feel pumped up. So for 2015, my goal is 12 million, so I need to sell 24 homes.
24 homes, 12 million, which means your average price is 500,000.
Yeah, which in Montclair and Glen Ridge, that's about right, so.
Yes. So once again, 24 homes, $12 million in closed production would make your net
About 300.
300. So again, do you know your goals? Your income goal to the number of transactions you need, to the number of contracts you need, to the number of appointments you need. Because at the end of the day, it all starts with what? It all starts with appointments. Focus on appointments. If you're hitting your appointments, everything else takes care of itself. So do you know your goals? And then do you know your actuals? Do you know your actuals? So your goal is 24 transactions a year. I'm gonna, you just really, any idea what your
Well,
appointment?
I did 24 transactions this year, but my average was about 250 or 300.
So you're focusing on moving that list price up, or that average price up. So any idea how many appointments you need to get to the 24?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but.
Well, probably about 40 to
Yeah,
45.
probably something around that.
So again, if you need 40 appointments a year, how many appointments did you do? What happens, by not tracking our actuals, we're not paying attention to our business. Let's be honest, we're going into the time of year where you could go 2 or 3 months without an appointment and not even realize it, right? You know, the holidays start when? Columbus Day. The holidays now start at Columbus Day. At one point it was Thanksgiving, then it was Halloween. Now it goes Columbus Day to Valentine's Day or the holiday season. So what happens is you can go a whole 2-3 months without ever having an appointment. So by knowing what your appointment goal is, you know how to track that, you know how to hold yourself accountable to it. Because if your appointment goal is 2 appointments a week, and you go 3 weeks with no appointments, how many appointments are you behind? Thank you. 2 times 3 equals 6. So if you go 3 weeks without an appointment, you're 6 behind, which means either A, you gotta make up that 6, or B, you've gotta be okay dropping your income goal for yourself and your family. So that's a decision point for you to make. Do you wanna be okay earning less money, or do you wanna just adjust your goals for the next period to offset what you missed? We're gonna talk about that more in a second. Here are the 8 goal categories. So we're gonna come into this regression analysis here. Here are the 8 goal categories of the MREA. Page 107. Page 107. So when someone says, hey, I'm interested in building a team, 109? 109. When someone says, I'm interested in building a team, this is the first question I ask. How many leads did you generate last year? How many leads did you generate last year? What do you think the common answer to that question is?
I don't know.
No idea. How many leads did you generate? How many converted to an appointment? How many converted to a contract? How many converted to a close? That is your lead generation system. Being able to understand how those things work. So that's the reason we say you hire an admin first. Your admin's first job is to help you create your lead generation tracking system. So you can say, yeah, here's my report. I generated 100 leads this year. I converted 40 to an appointment. Of the 40, I did contracts with 32 of them, and 28 of them got to a closing table. Once you know that, you're ready to start getting leverage on the buyer side of the business. Suzanne?
Market Leader has a great Excel spreadsheet that will help you do this in a flash.
So being able to understand where your business is coming from, how many leads you generated from, what sources, and how that all went through is super important. Until you do this, you're not ready to know what you need to add next. So let's talk about the economic model. Here are the 4 models of the MREA. Here are the 4 models of the MREA, page 122. The first model that we're going to talk about is the economic model. It does 3 things. It helps you understand what numbers you must hit. What numbers you must hit, specifically how many appointments you need a week, a month, a year to get your goals. It helps you focus on appointments, and it helps you focus on conversions. Again, how many of the appointments did you go on versus how many contracts did you take? Do you know that conversion? What percentage of your listings sell in a year? When I say mean sell, they don't relist, they don't expire, they don't withdraw, but they actually see a closing table during the initial listing period. Right under the economic model, I want you to write the word think. Think. The economic model is the tool we use to learn how to think like a millionaire. After that, we're going to talk about the lead generation model. How we prospect and market, who we prospect and market to. What is a database? How do we set it up? How do we communicate it? How do we feed it? And what do we do specifically to focus on seller listings, because that's the name of the game. So lead generation is the second thing. I want you to write next to that, earn. Earn. Because again, that's the model that teaches us how to earn $1 million. How do we generate $1 million in gross commission income is the lead generation model. The third model, which we'll touch briefly on, is the budget model. We use terms like lead with revenue, not expenses. Play red light, green light. Who here invests in Realtor.com every year? What kind of return is that bringing you in your business? How many leads did you generate from Realtor.com this past year? I would tell you, and I know people spending $15,000 and $20,000 a year on Realtor.com. And I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm asking you 2 things. Number 1, how many leads did you generate from that? And if you can't track how many leads you generate, ask yourself, does this support my marketing plan? So I've got someone that spends $20,000 a year on it because she uses that as a big part of her listing presentation that helps her get 6% listings. So again, be real with yourself. Are you using it as a lead generation tool, or are you using it to really help improve your marketing plan that you offer sellers? It's one or the other. It's one or the other. So again, play red light, green light. If you're spending money, hold that money accountable and make sure it's doing what you need to do before you throw more money at it. Because one thing I would tell you, money doesn't fix all the problems. Throwing more money at a problem isn't going to make the problem any better. More times than not, it's going to make the problem just that much bigger. So play red light, green light, and then stick to a budget. Who here has a budget? I'm not going to look at anyone in particular. Look at mint.com. Mint, M-I-N-T. It's the free version of Quicken. Thank you. It's a free version of Quicken. You can set mint.com up in about an hour. You can connect it to your credit card. You can connect it to your debit card. Every time you log in, it'll download your banking information. All you have to do is label what that money was used for. It's a great way to create a budget, to track your budget, to hold yourself accountable to a budget, and the best thing about it is it's free. Once you get good at using that, you'll upgrade to Quicken, which will cost you about $100 a year.
And if you add the app on your phone, it actually identifies when you're doing too much of something while you're doing it.
You'll get an alert to your phone saying, oh, you're over budget in this category.
Yeah.
So again, it's a great free way to create a budget and start tracking. It's funny, you don't realize how much money you spend until you watch it.
Yeah, like Starbucks accounts.
One thing about realtors, we're great at spending money. We're actually really good at spending money before we actually earn it. Who here has ever spent a commission check before you got it?
Oh,
Right? So let's be honest, a lot of us have done it more than once. So again, create a budget and stick to it. Think, earn, right above this, net. The budget model will help teach you how to net $1 million. Then the organizational model, who to hire, when to hire them, how you go through the process of finding, hiring, training, and motivating those people. Will teach you how to receive $1 million. Receive $1 million. It's funny, I met with Chris Heller just a few months back. For those of you that know who Chris Heller is, he's the president of KW Worldwide. He's the guy who's tasked the last 3 years with bringing Keller Williams across the globe. He had a very successful real estate team. In his peak years, they were selling $170 to $180 million worth of real estate per year. $170 million worth of real estate a year. So he was generating a lot of revenue. So I said to Chris recently, I said, hey, how's that going for you? Our model says you should be able to leave your business and net 40%. I said, are you netting 40%? No, the market shift, we've had to make some adjustments and do some changes. So right now, I'm just taking a flat $300,000 a year salary. So again, his team's in California, he's in Texas. So I said, how much time do you spend on your team? He goes, oh, I talked to my CEO 45 minutes a week, 50 weeks a year. So I calculated, okay. Well, it's about 50 hours a year he spends. 50 hours a year, $300,000. Who here would love the opportunity to earn $6,000 per hour? That's the beauty of this. That's the beauty of this. He earned $6,000 an hour because he built something and then hired someone to take it over from him. So he can still earn that or receive that without necessarily doing the activities. So I said, of course, I asked the next question, when was the last listing appointment you went on? About 5 years ago. But he's making $300,000 a year on his real estate sales business. That's the power of the organizational model. Think, earn, net, receive. Think, earn, net, receive. Warren Buffett will tell you, in order to truly understand anything, you've got to do it 12 times. You've got to read this book 12 times. Warren, on page 127, tells the story how he read this book on investing. And then he went and did it. And he lost millions of dollars. Because while he read a book that excited him, he really didn't understand the concepts enough. And he said, I've now learned that I'm not going to spend $1 investing on a concept I read until I read and understand it at least 12 times. So, Judy, you mentioned it today. You've been in this class before. But he said, hey, go again because you can never hear it too much. For those that know me, I'll say something different every time. I'll say something different every time. And don't ask me for a statistic, because I will change that every time I share a statistic, right? So read it 12 times, understand it 12 times. We've got a class called Recruit Select. It's all about finding and hiring talent for our business. It's a 2-day class, 2 weeks. I'm taking it for the 10th time, that class. The 10th time. I'm either really smart or really slow learner. I haven't quite figured out which one yet. So let's talk. We're going to get through the economic model, and then we're going to take a break for lunch. Sound good? Yeah. Cool. The 3 key areas on page 129. The 3 key areas of the model are focusing on the numbers you must hit, focus on your appointments, and focus on your conversion ratios. There's a great part in your workbook. Page 10 of your workbook has a version of this chart. I know it goes top to bottom there, it goes the other way in the workbook. Don't ask me why it does that, it drives me crazy, but I did it write the book. So we're going to work this out, and this is the time that we're going to spend some time on, guys, because I want you leaving here today knowing how many appointments you must have in order to net the income you want to net this year. So are you guys ready to go through this workout with me? I'm gonna ask you to be involved. I'm gonna do an example of this on the board so we have a live working number. So what we do in this is we say, okay, how much do we want to net a year? How much do we want to net a year? And they say this before taxes. But we're gonna add taxes into the equation because I want you to budget for taxes. A lot of realtors don't budget for taxes. We don't pay quarterly taxes. And we all know what April 15th is, don't we? Extension day. And the first quarter is great because all the money we earn in the first quarter of 2015 will pay our 2014 taxes. Right? So budget for taxes in your plan. So let's look at this for a second. I'm going to call out some numbers. How much do we want to net in a year? 325? 225. 300. Throw out a bunch of numbers, guys. I'm trying to get a good average for the room.
300.
300. 175 a year? 125? Alright. But for the sake of the room, so we kind of have a good average, I'm going to use the 200 number. Hey, keep on. You guys can use whatever number you want on yours, so please use your number. For the sake of this room, I'm going to work off of $250,000. Because Judy's right here, I'm afraid she's going to hit me with something if I don't use her number. So we're going to use the $250,000. So let's talk about what our expenses are. All right, so what are the expenses that we have? So again, the two biggest expenses we have are what and what? What's the biggest expense we typically have in here?
Lead gen.
Lead gen? Thank you. Say louder.
Taxes.
Taxes.
Oh,
Uncle Sam is going to be one of the biggest expenses you have in here. Let's budget for taxes. So I'm going to say, let's shoot out at about 30%. You need about 30%. Once again, if you want to take taxes out of your net, that's fine. I want you to budget for taxes in this model. So 30% of this is $75,000 in taxes. What's the second biggest expense you typically have in the real estate business? You said lead gen, not quite yet. There's one bigger expense most realtors have. Broker. Who said broker? Your broker is your biggest expense you have. You pay your broker for the benefit of working there and for the services and tools and systems that they provide for you. So figure out what it is that you pay your broker per year. For a lot of people, it's going to be a percentage of this. So are you on a 50% split, a 60% split, a 70% split? Figure out what that number is. So for instance, if you're at a 70% split with your broker at $250,000, you're probably paying your broker somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000 in order to generate $250,000. In our world, we have this beautiful thing called a cap. You don't pay the office, the market center, more than X amount of dollars. So in our market center, it's $35,000 plus 3 in royalty, the most you'll ever pay. So for someone that's netting $250,000 a year, you're going to cap. This number, if this number is